Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast. If you haven't done so yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to tap that bell icon to be notified every time a new video is released. Thanks!
Get ready for your weekly dose of pixie dust with Disney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, and welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, the ultimate unofficial Disney fan podcast. I'm Jeff DePaoli, and today on the show, I have Miss Tiffany Mink with me coming back to the show.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a long time. It's been since episode 209. If you want to learn more about Tiffany Mink, go to episode 209, check out that entire episode with her. But for the folks who don't know you, although if you're in the Disney fan community, there's a pretty good chance you do. But if you don't, why don't you tell a bit about yourself?
Sure. Just like you said, I'm part of the Disney community. I was on the YouTube channel Thingamavlogs. That's no more, but I'm doing my own YouTube channel now.
What's the name of that?
Super fun. It's just Tiffany Mink. Super easy to find.
There you go.
Yeah, and I'm on Instagram. That's probably my favorite thing to be on all day. And I have a Disney-inspired clothing line called Who's Its and What's Its.
It's fantastic. Who's Its and What's Its is like better than in-park merchandise.
Stop.
No, it is, and you know it is. And everybody knows it is that knows it because it's... Although, tell me this, have you noticed recently in the parks, they're going much more minimal?
Yeah, Disney
They're
is finally
catching
like,
on.
okay, this is what people want, all right.
Yeah.
But they've also have what I like to call the Etsy wall. And it's like the turkey leg, and they're like, I live in Fantasyland. And it's like, man, I've seen this stuff on Etsy for like years.
Totally, and they're finally getting it. And it's funny because Who's Its and What's Its and the other shops out there, you guys, I love minimalism to begin with. Like, that's always my preferred choice. But I think a lot of you start with the minimal stuff because, like, okay, can't get sued with a second star to the right. You know what I mean? It's a star, so you can't sue me over that. But it's so popular. And the one I'm noticing the most now is the I'm So Fly shirt.
Oh, yeah.
I'm seeing that on everybody. And at first I saw it, I was like, oh, that totally looks like some like fan-made merch. And then I saw a ton of people wearing it. I was like, this has got to be in the park. And then sure enough, I saw it in the Emporium.
I hate that shirt.
You don't like it?
So much.
I like the one that says I'm So Fly. I don't like the one that says underneath I Never Land or something like that.
I think that one was at Target. But,
oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's like Target had a version of it, and then it was like in the parks with some like small changes.
Interesting.
I don't know. I follow all that stuff too much. I know too many things.
But you're not a fan of it, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a whole other story.
Okay, cool. Well, guys, if you want to check out some of Tiffany's merch, it's over at whositswhatsits.com. You spell it whositswhatsits.com. Very easy to remember, and definitely worth checking out. But the reason you're here today is you're my guest co-host this week. And you're actually going to be the first to try this new segment with me.
I'm so excited.
I'm actually really excited. This was like I've been holding on to this idea for a long time because I'm just like a list maker and a person who likes things in order is like, no, this comes with a new season of the show. So there's this new segment and let's jump into it right now.
Don't touch that remote because you're tuned into PrimeTime at the Parks.
So it's called PrimeTime at the Parks, and what we're going to do is all of our favorite TGIF ABC sitcoms at one point or another went to Walt Disney World or Disneyland or something, yes?
Yeah.
And even the shows that I didn't necessarily watch, I always tuned in. If they were going to Walt Disney World, I was like, I am tuning in this week.
Marketing!
Yes, absolutely. And so you basically had your choice of all the shows. And who did you pick?
Full House.
Yes, our first PrimeTime at the Parks segment will be Full House. Of course, Full House is having quite the resurgence these days with Fuller House. Mm-hmm. Are you watching on Netflix?
I've seen a few episodes. I went to a taping months ago.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Did I get you that?
Maybe?
I think I did. Yeah, I hooked you up. Because I've gone twice.
I was like, I can't remember.
I did. I remember now.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yes. I forgot that you went.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
much fun.
It is a fun show. And it's, God, I remember the first time I went to the taping, I went down to the set after and was like walking around and put my back to the audience chairs. So like I was in the living room.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like literally actually getting chills right now thinking about it. But like, it's just so weird. Not that I was the biggest diehard Full House fan, but like, it's my childhood. So like I got the weird chills being in that living room, and then I looked to the right, could see into the kitchen, and John Stamos was hanging there. And I was like, oh my God, Uncle Jesse. So needless to say, I'm excited about this Full House Primetime at the Parks. If you are not familiar with these episodes, there are actually 2 episodes. They were called The House Meets the Mouse. They both happened in season 6 of Full House, which I think was their second to last season.
It was the finale. Yeah, it was the finale of that season.
Of that season, yeah.
Yes.
Episodes 623 and 624. You can find them on Hulu these days. And, let's just jump into it. And actually, my first thought when I saw this was like, now knowing how big a fan John Stamos is.
I had the exact same thought. I was like, oh my gosh, of course Uncle Jesse is like, let's do our second honeymoon. I got the honeymoon suite.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is literally just John Stamos.
Totally. I was like, I wonder how much influence he had on the writers for this, because
what a dream come true for him, man.
Yeah, and I wonder if that was like the first real thing he did with. I mean, he's done a ton with Disney. These even just like hosting stuff at the expo. He seems to be everywhere Disney now. But yeah, this must have been a dream come true for him. But let's talk a little bit about the episode synopsis to start off. And
right.
I've been yapping a bit, so why don't you give your version of it?
Basically, the episode starts with Jesse gets this phone call, and he was like, guess where we're going to perform? Guess where Jesse and the Rippers is going to perform? And Becky is like, well, Disney World, your agent called and spoiled the whole thing. And they've been trying to, you see, like in the first few minutes, they've been trying to get away from the family. And so now they're like, oh, we have this chance to go to Walt Disney World, like on our own. And then Uncle Joey comes in and his radio station, they're like, they're going to fly me to Orlando so we can film our radio show there, and then we'll also live broadcast your Jesse and the Ripper show. And then they're like, oh, great, now Uncle Joey's there. And then Danny is also going to go because Wake Up San Francisco is...
Wake up, San Francisco!
Yeah, they're showing reruns, and it just so happens the girls are out of school.
Yes.
So what should have been a cute couples trip turns into the whole gang now has to go to Walt Disney World. And it just the hijinks ensue from there. Really, I don't even know. It's the most absurd like vacation you could possibly imagine if you know anything about the parks.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the fun thing. If you're a Disney nerd watching these, the fun part is being like, okay, that could happen. That's unrealistic. Like that's always the fun part to me anyway, watching it. I will say that scene, and I'm gonna get really immature for a second, but when what's the little girl's name? Michelle. In that first scene, she has a line that goes, nuts make me gag. And I was like, what are they doing here, really? Because I don't know if it's just me, but like I was literally laughing out loud. I was like, why do they have a little girl saying nuts make me gag on an ABC sitcom? Did you even think it, or am I that immature?
It seemed like an odd thing for her to say. Yes. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
I didn't immediately go there, but I did do a double take.
Yeah, I definitely did. She was talking about chocolate. If for those of you listening, if you haven't seen the episode, she was talking about chocolate. But so they go to Walt Disney World, and Michelle wins a bit of a contest, a completely made up contest.
I know, like I could not. Yeah. Prince
or princess for the day. What's always so funny to me is when they just take things from one park and put it in a different park. Mm-hmm. So for this Prince or Princess for the Day contest, they brought a float from the Aladdin's Caravan parade at Disney MGM Studios at the time, brought it to the Magic Kingdom. So and they had, kids had to rub the lamp and win. And guess what? Michelle wins and kind of steals it from Stephanie.
Yeah, the beginning of the episode, it's set up with this chocolate that Michelle gets whatever she wants because she's the youngest. So the same thing happens with the magic lamp, and what was supposed to be Stephanie's turn, Michelle takes, and it ends up being that she gets chosen for Princess of the Day.
Yeah.
It's kind of a theme that runs throughout the 2-part episode, really, so...
And it's she gets 3 wishes because of it. And her first wish, of course, I feel like this is everybody's first wish.
Yeah.
If you win the Disney contest, you're like, every ride, no lines, please. And she decides to ride the carousel 10 times, I believe, which is kind of a weird choice. But, that happened. Now, what do you think were some of the points in this episode that were just, like, completely unrealistic to you? As a Disney fan, you're watching, you're like, I've been to Walt Disney World, and this is BS. This doesn't happen.
But honestly, almost all of it.
I actually didn't feel it was that, but have you seen a lot of the sitcoms at the parks?
I've seen a few of them. I've seen the Modern Family one.
Okay.
And then, which other one have I seen? I haven't seen the Boy Meets World one in a long time.
Yeah.
But I have vague memories of that one.
The thing that drives me most nuts with these is when, like, you have, somebody's at Splash Mountain and then 5 minutes later is at an attraction in a different park. That's what really drives me nuts. This didn't do it that much. It didn't do it at all that I can remember.
No, well, aside from them jumping from Magic Kingdom to MGM Studios to the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular and to watch the Aladdin parade because Aladdin was like just released.
Yes. And their star.
I know. That's what makes it so good.
Yes.
Is that Scott Wagner, the voice of Steve, or Steve, played by Scott Wagner, was the voice of Aladdin, and they actually put him in full-blown costume, which I think is brilliant and amazing.
I am curious at that point how many people knew that. Like, I wonder if it was more of an insider thing for the creators of the show, or if it was like, no, the public knew that. Because I don't think he was like famous. He was the dude from Full House.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody knew him by name, so I don't think like there were, Aladdin was so heavily promoted with Robin Williams that I don't think they're like also starring Scott Weinger.
I mean, I also don't think that the fandom is what it is now.
Yeah.
Like now we know these voice actors for these movies because we're all crazy and we want to know every single little bit of information. But I feel like in the early 90s, the fandom just wasn't
The internet
insane.
it wasn't real. Google wasn't a thing. And also, I don't know if this was before or if this kind of promoted the release of Aladdin or if Aladdin had happened. I'm not sure.
Well, I looked and the episode aired in 93 and Aladdin
it was
came out
92.
Yeah.
Right? 92?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah. So it was still pretty new.
Okay. Although I believe it still played into 90. Aladdin was in theaters for a very long time. I remember that as a kid.
Jumping off of the characters, though, back to the thing that drove me insane
Yes.
was like how these characters are randomly all throughout the park. I'm like, Snow White, what are you doing in Adventureland?
Yeah.
Like, excuse me? What?
Yeah.
Like, you can't just have Cinderella and Prince Charming roam around Fantasyland and them not be completely bombarded with people.
Well, I do remember. Tell me if you remember this at all as a kid. Do you remember when like character and meet and greets were that like you just went up to them?
Yeah,
I know overseas they still do it that way.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I never remember like waiting in line to meet Mickey. It was there's
very
Mickey,
different.
and so it kind of had more that feel, which may have been just more realistic for the time. But yes, you're right. They were definitely crossing boundaries.
Like, why are these characters watching the fireworks with the crowd
Yes.
in front of the castle? I'm like, excuse me, no.
Yeah, I did love that as well. It's great. Let me see. I there was an interesting segment. Now this is the segment that I was like, okay, I guess this is kind of getting into commercial territory. So part of the reason that, ABC, which is owned by Disney, and even when it wasn't owned by Disney, Disney's always had an association with Disney. In fact, ABC gave Walt a ton of money for Disneyland to be built, and then, of course, he made the Disneyland TV show. So ABC and Disney's always had some sort of relationship. So they do use it a bit as a commercial. And one of the things that kind of cracked me up was the whole animation studio sequence.
I feel like they could have done it without that whole scene entirely.
Absolutely.
It's shoehorned in there.
Yes. So what they do is Joey goes, he's a voice guy and stuff, and so he's like, hey, I'm going to go meet up with my friend Mark over at the animation, which is over at Disney MGM Studios, which was a real thing. You used to be able to tour the animation studio there, because what did they make there? They made Mulan there, I believe, and Lilo and Stitch.
I think Lion King?
No, Lion King was out here. But so they made some of those like 90s, not such big hit.
Most likely Aladdin. Since that's what they were pushing, I would think.
No, that was out here. So I'm trying to think. The ones that they didn't make the big ones out there. Not that I know of. Like Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King were California, I believe. But I think it was, like I said, I think Mulan and Pocahontas maybe. I think might have had some, whatever. I'm probably getting some of that wrong. But in any case, Joey goes there for a tour, and he meets up with this guy, Mark, who, did he look familiar to you?
He's an actual animator.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, I was watching that, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've seen this guy in person at, like, Disney events, as well as, like, documentaries and stuff. So that was kind of cool that they had, like, a real animator.
Yeah, his name was, I looked him up because I was like, he looks super familiar. His name was Mark Hinn, and he worked on Lion King and Mulan and Aladdin and Big Hero 6. So he's been in the game for a while.
That's cool. And then they did this weird thing with Joey, like, drawing himself. Here's what drove me really nuts is so he drew himself and voiced himself, but changed his voice for the character.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's supposed to be you. Why are you changing your voice? That didn't really make much sense to me.
Maybe because he's like smaller, so I thought he had to be like this high pitched because physically.
Sure. But
I don't know.
Kids in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids didn't have higher pitched voices.
No, they did not.
I did it, folks. I successfully worked Honey, I Shrunk the Kids organically into this episode of Disney Coast to Coast. Boom, that happened. So that was the only sequence that was a big red flag. Whoa, this is weird type of sequence. There was another one for me. I'm wondering if was there a moment that you're just like, what is happening here?
I don't really outside. Well, the underwater Epcot radio recording situation. I'm like, how is this happening?
So Joey and Jesse host a radio show, which, to be honest, I didn't even remember was a thing on the show. But they hosted from inside the tank of the Living Seas at the time. So this was weird. They were just in a giant globe in the middle of the water doing a radio show, and I was like, okay, what is this? Like,
well, I'm like, okay, I am not familiar if this was an experience that you actually could do, but Disney does do various experiences, especially with Living Seas. Like, you can do all of these aquatic things, but what I didn't understand was why or how they had to swim out of it.
Yeah.
Like, the whole thing looks like it's like would come up to the top and you would get in and you would go down, and like that I can buy. Yeah. But this whole like, ooh, I can't swim out of here because there's a shark over there was ludicrous to me.
Yes, I would wholeheartedly agree. It was the point in the show that I was just like, okay, no pun intended, they're jumping the shark here. Like it was, yes, that worked. I gotta say, they were staying at the Grand Floridian, which, let me just say, this was a pricey vacation.
I know, I'm like, you got the honeymoon suite at the Grand Floridian?
Seriously.
Also, when Steve comes later to surprise DJ, I'm like, how's that boy affording his own room at the Grand Floridian?
Head over to All Star Sports, sir. Although I don't think that existed back then. But the Grand Floridian, pretty pricey stay for them. Speaking of Steve, though, so Steve, part of the story here is DJ, Steve's girlfriend, keeps seeing Steve in all these places, and the first time she sees him, it's the character of Aladdin in the park. She thinks it's, looks like him in costume, and sure enough, of course, they cut to it, and it's the actor in the costume. But we also see him as Prince Charming and Indiana Jones at the Epic Stunt.
Such a big scene in Indiana, like the whole thing almost.
Yeah, he had the best role in this episode, like
by far.
He got to have so much fun. He got to run from the boulder, and some of it was stunt double stuff, but like they had close-ups of him running from the boulder, and I was just like, he's having so much fun, and I laugh out loud moment when, of course, if you've seen the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, Indy gets run over by the giant boulder, and DJ, thinking it's Steve, jumps up in the audience and yells, "Steve!" And it was quite funny to me.
I want to do that. I want to do that when it happens and see.
They just yell Steve?
Yeah, after Indy gets run over, just jump up and like, Steve, no! And see what happens.
I would want to do that and have somebody record it and just like see if anybody gets the reference.
Somebody's gotta get it, right?
I mean, before recently rewatching this, I would not have got it.
I might not have gotten it either, to be honest.
But now knowing it, you know what? Those of you listening who are in Florida, please, next time you're at the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, when Indy gets run over by the giant boulder, please just stand up and yell Steve and see if there's a reaction.
I do have a question for you in regards to Steve being these characters.
Sure.
Do you think that they, given what character integrity is now, that on new episodes they would even let an actor jump in a full part costume?
It's a very good question, and you're right. It's surprising that they allow stuff like this. The reason I will say yes is because you said you saw the Modern Family episode?
I did, but he's in like a fuzzy.
He isn't a fuzzy, but he's talking.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. I'm like, what is happening?
So, the fuzzy characters don't talk unless, it's talking Mickey or something, but 99% of them do not talk. They're not allowed to. And the episode, not to jump to a different sitcom, as I'll get to it eventually, but in Modern Family, the boyfriend is in,
It's Little John.
It's Little John from Robin Hood, exactly. And you hear his voice coming out of the costume. So to me, that's more of an integrity problem than like her envisioning her boyfriend, because like that's not real, that's just, I get what you're saying.
No, I totally agree. I was just curious. Your
Yeah,
thoughts
no, that's
on
what
it.
I think. I mean, the Aladdin thing is priceless.
So good.
That's awesome. I mean, I wonder how cool he must have felt in that moment. I wonder if he's like, yeah, this is pretty cool. And you know, the coolest thing is his voice is the same today. He
really
still
is.
does Aladdin. Whenever they record Aladdin, like he still does the voice, and that's like, what's it been? Almost 30 years. We're heading 25 years ish.
Yeah.
For Aladdin, and his voice hasn't changed like that much. That's really abnormal for a guy. So good for him. What else went on? Oh, you know what? This episode made me a little sad for things that no longer exist. Like the Living Seas I mentioned is now the Seas with Nemo and Friends.
Yeah.
But also the Sky Buckets.
I know. I was like, oh no.
Yeah. They were part of the episode, and I gotta be honest, like as a kid I was scared of sky buckets because I had a massive fear of heights. But also I've always, as much as I love like looking at the sky buckets from the ground, I've always hated them in the parks because I am one of those, you can't see outside of this fantasy world that Walt's created. I hate seeing the rooftops of buildings because they're so ugly.
Yeah,
like they're
true.
really ugly at Disneyland. And so I don't know, I've always been against the sky buckets, but I will say when I saw them in the show, I was like, oh, it's so sad. I miss them a little bit. Any other favorite moments that you had in the episodes?
What were my favorite things? I can't get over Jesse and the Rippers playing on the castle stage. Like at the beginning of the episode, because I honestly didn't remember that part. Mm-hmm. And then when he was like, "Oh, our band is playing," I'm like, "Oh, that makes sense," because Epcot has like smaller bands play Theater Mine all the time. Like,
Right.
yeah, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, because you're playing on the castle stage though."
Yeah.
I mean, I would see that. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. They should totally... Dude.
Could you imagine?
Oh my goodness, I think Fuller House needs to Fuller House has so many of those flashbacks from the original show. I think they need to recreate that moment.
I think John Stamos
Even
would
if it's
completely-
Disneyland. Even if it's Disneyland, let's do it.
Sure.
I'm going to call John Stamos after this.
Do you have his number?
Sure.
Can I have it?
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Great.
You mentioned that scene though, and it reminded me of another thing that I was like, BS, and that's the fireworks.
Oh my Lord.
Okay. They used a fireworks technology that still ceases to exist. That, oh my goodness, if they could pull this off, that would make so much money. But clearly written in the fireworks, Danny, played by Bob Saget, is proposing to Vicky, his girlfriend. And in the fireworks, it's clearly written, "Will you marry me, Vicky?" Or "Vicky, will you marry me?" One or the other.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I was like, okay, we can't even get a smiley face facing the right direction most of the time. Sometimes those Mickey circles are off. And you're telling me you wrote "Will you marry me" in the fireworks?
Wild.
How much would people pay for that, though?
Oh, there are people that I personally know some people that would front the bill for that. Like, I mean, how much is it? What do fireworks cost a night? Roughly, isn't it like
at least tens of thousands?
Yeah,
but that's because they get a major discount based on the volume they purchase.
I mean, $100,000? Is that seems like
for the fireworks? I would believe it.
well, for
that
the one firework,
for the one
like,
"Will
with
you
your
marry?"
name. You know, not even with the name, even just a "Will you marry me" firework.
If it were $100,000, I bet you. How many times a year do you think we would see that happen? If it were $100,000 to do that,
20.
you think 20? I was gonna say like 5.
Yeah.
I was gonna say 5 times a year. I bet we would see somebody pay that.
John Stamos would have done it.
John would have done it. Yeah. What did he proposed at a
The Animation Academy.
What an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Who's he marrying now?
I know her as her name is Caitlin. Caitlin?
He's no longer single.
I think so, yeah. She's really sweet. We've met her. She loves to Disney Bound.
Okay.
She's like a pretty huge Disney fan. She's beautiful.
Okay.
She's super, super sweet. But I think
Is she a model or something?
I think so, yeah. Caitlin Skybound. I think that's her Instagram handle, but she's really cool.
Cool. I wonder if he'll have a Disney wedding.
I'd be shocked. I'd be
right?
shocked if he didn't.
If we find out that the area around Sleeping Beauty Castle is closed for a while, For a wedding, pretty good chance it's
Doesn't
him.
he own one of the D's? Is
So
that him?
I've heard different stories. Yes, he owns some portion of the old Disneyland sign that used to be in the parking lot before, it was DCA. I've heard it's the original sign, and I've also heard it's just the D. Whichever it is, supposedly it's in his backyard.
I've seen.
And I think you can see it from the freeway.
You can see it from Google satellite. Like you can see
No
a big
kidding.
D. Yeah.
That's funny.
Double-checking,
so maybe it
double-checking.
is just the D. I wonder if he paid. He probably did not pay $100,000 for that. I don't know. Do you think?
An original, the D.
I guess. I don't know. People will pay a lot for Disney stuff. What else happened? Oh, no, I gotta say, so a huge portion of this episode was Michelle getting lost because she ran away because she was being a spoiled brat is what it comes down to. But do you remember as a kid all those Olsen twin movies that came out?
Yes.
Okay, and I have no idea timeline-wise where those fit in. This kind of felt like one of those. And I don't know if this was like kind of an inspiration for one of those. And I was also watching this episode and thinking to myself, how did these kids get so famous? Because I don't think they're particularly good actors.
It's like, they were just, because they were such a lovable character on the show. Have you watched the Lifetime movie? There's Lifetime has been doing these series of movies that's just behind the scenes, how this really happened. They did one for Saved by the Bell.
I remember the Saved by the Bell one. I didn't know that they did
a Full House one.
Okay.
So it's, who knows how much of it's true to begin with. Mm-hmm. But they hired the twins and their family, kind of, I guess, got suckered in and then got an agent. And then they were like, no, these kids are stars. And so they pushed for a lot, to get more money from these kids. And we would have been kids when the show was popular, but they were the most, Michelle was the most popular character on Full House.
That's so that's so weird.
She was so, how rude, I don't know.
No, how rude was Stephanie?
Yeah, but every time Michelle took it,
Yeah.
it was a moment.
Yeah, it's what was her slogan was no wait, was she
You got it, dude.
You got it, dude. That's what it was.
it,
You got it,
dude.
dude. Now the thing that's interesting though, this show was on long enough. I guess they were still kids, but let's face it, they were heading to a point where they could have been we don't need twins anymore. Mm-hmm. We need one of them.
Yeah.
And we're only gonna pay one of them. I don't know exactly what the laws are with those ages and stuff, but I wonder how much longer that would have gone on. Especially if the parents were being difficult and nobody wants to work with difficult parents. Mm-hmm. I guess at that point though, they could have been you know what, you either take both of them or none of them.
I think that's what happened.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, also with children, in labor laws
Yeah.
and underage, you only can work X amount of hours on set. So
Yeah.
the younger they are, of course you have two of them. You can.
Which is why they initially do it. I'm wondering where that age break is because I wonder how old Stephanie was when she started. But it's a weird. The whole Olsen twin insanity is so weird to me. And to think they're still. I don't know. I mean, they're still famous, but they're still rich enough that they do not do Fuller House at all. I think, do they do clothing lines or something?
Yeah, they have a clothing line. God, I love that. It's episode 1 in Fuller House, and they make they kind of scoff.
Yeah, yes.
At Michelle being too busy or something.
Yeah, she's living in New York.
So funny.
But there's also, I think it was one of the season finales where they're having Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner together, and Uncle Jesse, John Stamos, looks directly into the camera and says something we'd love the whole family to be here. Really, you're invited whenever you want. And I'm like, come on, girls, do what? We don't even need both of you. We need one of you. Can't one of you be cool enough to do this?
Yeah.
It kind of stinks as a Fuller House is doing. It's so funny when I talk about Fuller House because I talk to people about it and they're like, really, it's quite terrible. I'm like, here's the thing, it's not good. It's 1,000% enjoyable though.
Yeah.
If you grew up with Full House's party life, with which so many people did, way beyond just people who grew up with it, because it's been on repeat forever.
The syndication for Full House is insane.
Insanity. So everybody's grown up with it, and it bothers me that they just won't come do one episode, please.
I think they're worried because they've not had the most, I don't want to say clean kind of career. They've had some downfalls, and I feel like being in the public eye and being associated with that, there might be a fear of stepping back into an acting type role. I think they're worried about any sort of backlash.
So they haven't acted for a long time, right?
No.
So they had another sitcom with both of them on it, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think I am wrong, but was Bob Saget their dad on the show?
I don't think so. I know the one that you're talking. They were like teens.
Teens, yeah, or tweens or something.
One of them. I remember one of them. I watched that show. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about it.
What was it called?
Oh, I can't remember. One of them, their name was Riley, because I remember being like, I wish my name was Riley. What was that called? I'm pretty positive Bob Saget was not on it.
Then I made that up in my mind. But the thing that's interesting about that is I remember one of them was nominated for an Emmy.
Ooh, that's weird.
Yeah. And I forget if it was, what are their names? Mary-Kate and Ashley. Yeah, I don't remember. I think, I don't remember which one it was. But I'm like, wow, what's that car ride home? Like, like that's weird. I mean, of course they said, oh, I'm so proud of my sister. But it's like, no, you want to kill your sister a little bit.
If anything, get Elizabeth Olsen to come do one episode as Michelle. Like,
oh my goodness.
She's so grown up, it would be fine.
Yes.
Like, I feel like she'd be down. She seems cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, is she the one that did that Silent House? Or how many sisters do they have?
I only know those three.
Then I think she's probably the one that did Silent House. Yeah, she's a good little actor too, and she looks enough like them. Yes, right? I love that idea.
Yeah, call her up.
I'm gonna call John Stamos and then the Olsens and be like, listen, one of you need to do it. We've gone so off base, but that's fine. I love this.
Let's roll it back in.
Let's roll it back in.
One of the things that I cracked up like out loud was halfway through you see like Michelle's the princess of the day and they have these signs printed with her face on it throughout various parts of the park, and it's like, wow.
You know what I noticed with her full name? It said Michelle Tanner. I was like, okay, in this day and age, you would never put a child's full name on there. But yes, that was quite comical. For that part of the prize was it her final wish?
Well, no, a part of what she got was that she got to ride in the parade.
Okay.
So her last wish was that the rest of her family could ride in the parade with her.
That's right. No, I think it was for Stephanie.
She was going to give it to Stephanie.
And then Snow
White, because little old Snow White said, for being so selfless.
Yes.
All of you can ride.
Yeah. And they were in a parade that I definitely never saw in person.
Same.
I've seen photos of it. It was like a very Mardi Gras parade with giant inflatable floats. It looked kind of cool. I don't know the reasoning behind it particularly, like why they did this Mardi Gras parade.
I don't know, there's a giant Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
It's so odd.
Yeah, which was, what year was that? Was that 88? Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I think it was 88, so several years later, and man, they were pushing Roger. Oh, goodness. Good times.
But man, I'm like, cool, you're in a parade, you're going to be in the car, right? You're going to be in the car before the parade. No. They put everybody in costumes and just put them right up there with the characters.
Everybody had their own little float. It was great. I was like, okay, that needs to be a thing. What would people pay for that? Oh my goodness.
I would sign me up. I don't even care. I'm like, ooh, you going to put me in a princess dress and let me ride on the princess float? Heck yeah.
I think going back a little, I think Who's It's and What's It's needs to create an Olsen Twins like something or other. Work it in with Disney somehow.
Oh my gosh. What if we just made like a Michelle Tanner Princess of the Day shirt?
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Oh, I would lose it.
Dude.
It'd be hilarious.
Limited release, and yes.
There's 5 that exist. That's how limited.
Dude, that'd be amazing.
It's so funny.
I would, you know what, if you do that, I need one, and I will wear it at Disneyland, like, so proudly. I can't even tell you.
I would lose it.
Hilarious. Now, did this feel like a commercial to you at all?
Honestly, it didn't.
Okay.
Like, it didn't to me. You had these, like, beautiful aerial shots, but, I mean, if anything, those are beautiful, like, establishing shots, you can argue, but...
There were definitely shots that, like, the Full House team didn't take.
Sure, yeah, they were definitely, like, here's some B-roll.
Yeah.
Like, here's a helicopter shot.
Like, the grain was different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
I don't know, like, it didn't, because they didn't really vocalize or talk about, like, a lot of the experiences.
Yeah.
As, like, you got to see it, but I think it was so well integrated, like, in the story. Like, you saw so much of the Indiana Stunt Show, but it was because you were experiencing DJ thinking that was Steve and not Indy. The only thing was, like, I feel like they pushed Splash Mountain a lot, and Splash Mountain had just opened.
Every single one of the sitcoms pushes Splash Mountain because there's that money shot of them coming down the hill, and they have that perfect money shot of Splash Mountain, and, like, almost every, if not every sitcom like features that like crazy, and it's funny.
Yeah. I looked it up. Splash Mountain opened, soft openings were the summer of 1992.
Now, which was first? Was it
Disneyland?
Disneyland came first. Yeah. Okay.
It was 89 Disneyland. So this one was. It was still brand new for over there. But like when they're coming down the staircase, and she's like, "I love Splash Mountain."
Yes, I got that under her breath as well. Yeah, it's not like these days where like sometimes like, "Oh, I love these magic bands," and like they'll it's a commercial. I didn't feel it was so much commercial. I also felt like it worked with this sitcom.
Yeah,
I didn't find it unbelievable. I mean, they are Grand Floridian aside. You know, the Tanners were a wealthy family. Their dad was a celebrity. Jesse was a celebrity, and Joey was a radio personality / celebrity kind of. So I was like, they could totally afford this.
Yeah.
They're, the $100,000 Will You Marry Me fireworks, a little questionable whether or not.
What's great about that too is that Danny wasn't even sure he wanted to propose to Vicky in the beginning of like the first episode.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm gonna try it this way. I'm gonna try it this way while on vacation. So at what point during that day was he like, I gotta make this phone call and get these fireworks?
Listen, he's the host of Wake Up San Francisco. He's got connections. He probably just called John Stamos and was like, hey, Disney connection. No, but it was funny because it seemed like he kept trying to ask her to marry him, and every time it got interrupted, I kind of felt like he was more certain, oh, I definitely want to ask her now, because it kept getting, pushed to the side because they were in Epcot. What country were they in?
Germany.
They were in Germany, and some dancers came over, grabbed them, and started dancing with them. I'm like, okay, that was really forceful. And if those were real guests, there might be a problem with that. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. It was full of a lot of fun moments. I really enjoyed it. I thought they did a great job. Of course, they showed the Aladdin Caravan Parade, Royal Caravan at Disney MGM Studios, which is like, that may be my favorite Disney parade of all time.
Really?
Yeah, I love it. I'm a big fan of the Disney parades that like focused on one film. Okay. I know that's risky, and I know that like that doesn't always pay off. Like if you have a flop, because they got to build them before the movies come out. I feel like they're major risks. Disney doesn't take those risks anymore. I kind of miss them personally. But did you ever see that parade in person?
No.
I remember seeing it as a kid and seeing it on TV a lot. Like any way they could put that on TV, they did. And it's a great parade. Of course, the spitting camels are originally from that parade that now exist in Adventureland over at, what do they call that attraction? The flying carpets. What is it? Just the magic carpets of Aladdin?
Yeah, I think it's just like,
the Dumbo flying carpet ride. Yeah, so those spitting camels still exist.
Still spitting.
Yep. And tell me though, in these sitcoms, one thing... How are you with character meet and greets? Do you love them? Do you find them awkward?
I love them. Okay. I feel like I interact really great with characters.
Okay.
Like I go for it.
Okay. I enjoy them depending on the character, but I will say if they don't talk, I'm always like, okay, get the photo and get me out of here. Like,
I'll have a full blown conversation with Mickey and Minnie. Like,
okay, well that's what they were doing on this show a lot. There was a lot of conversation with non-speaking characters, which I feel like in some cases, I don't know necessarily about the sitcoms, but definitely like the Easter parade and stuff like that. If you had something that was pre-taped and they had a conversation with a character, sometimes they would dub in a voice of the character. I was a little surprised they didn't do that here, just based on how much they interacted with characters. Like, as soon as they get to the Grand Flow, we've got
Donald and Goofy
are there.
Just hanging out,
I was thinking, is that abnormal? Is like, Grand Floridian, I've seen quite a few characters around there. I don't know about those characters specifically, but I kind of believed it. I didn't find it that far-fetched, other than like Michelle being like, I want a tea party with all the characters, and all of a sudden...
And the weirdest hodgepodge of characters ever.
It was like, call in whoever's available. We got this TV show taping. I do want to mention, just because it made me laugh out loud, Becky's laptop. Oh my goodness. In the first scene, it was like a school textbook thick.
It's really bad.
That made me laugh quite a bit.
What else was pretty funny was when John Stamos, Uncle Jesse is like, let's do this cruise on the lagoon, which is you actually can do. You can rent like jet skis and boats and things for the Seven Seas Lagoon, but he's trying to meet Becky to do this like romantic cruise, and he's like, pack a lunch for me. And then when Becky's finally there waiting on him, she's got this giant picnic basket. And I'm like, where are these groceries that you've made this picnic from in the first place? Like, who
And then
That's
who's
not
hanging out there? Who's just hanging out there?
Chippendale.
Chippendale
as they
hanging
do
out there
on the docks.
Yeah. It's fun. It's great. As I said, I love these episodes. I think that they're a lot of fun. I do want to ask you though, if you were princess for a day at a Disney park, if you only got one wish, what would that wish be?
Oh man, what park am I in?
Which park do you want to be in? Actually, you know what? You could win in any park, but they can take you anywhere.
Ooh.
How about that?
Is it?
I mean, you have to stay on property.
All right,
so you're
all right.
winning at Walt Disney World.
Okay, I will tell you my number one thing that I would love to do more than anything else in the entire world. They would still say no. But I want to fly over the fireworks instead of Tinkerbell.
Oh,
That's what I want.
That's fantastic.
That's what I want. That's my, if I, like anything in the world that I could do, that's what I would
That's a
do.
really, really, really good choice. For me, I feel like I would want to replace Sorcerer Mickey at the end of Fantasmic and be on top of the mountain.
Ooh,
yeah.
I love that.
I would definitely, I mean, it wouldn't make much sense storyline-wise, like, Mickey and there's this random guy, but, I mean, I'll wear the mouse ears, it's cool, but, like, that'd be my moment. That'd be fantastic. Oh, bad dad joke. Sorry about that. Guys, I do want to open that question up to you guys as part of the conversation. Head on over to YouTube in the comments. I want to know, if you were prince or princess for a day at Walt Disney World, what is the one wish you would want for yourself? So leave your comments there on YouTube. Anything else you want to add about this?
Man, I don't know. I can't get over at peak John Stamos in this. Like, what?
At what peak?
He's like,
oh yeah.
John Stamos in this two-part episodes. He is the peak of everything. Is everything I want him to be. He's super hot.
Yeah.
He's like going to perform in front of the castle, and knowing like real life, he's like such a Disney fan. I'm like, that's what I want. I'm like, yeah, I want a honeymoon in like a second honeymoon in Walt Disney World. Like, yeah, what a dreamboat.
It is funny. Like, I was legit happy for him watching this episode because I knew how much fun he was having. And I'm like, I don't know the guy. Like, I have no reason to be happy for him. The guy's got a pretty darn good life from what I can tell.
Do you think he was like a hardcore Disney fan back then? Or
I think
maybe that like.
No, I think he's been a hardcore Disney fan for a long time. I don't know where it started for him, but he grew up out here, didn't he? I think he's like a SoCal boy.
I think
so. I'm pretty sure like Disneyland was an annual thing for him.
That makes sense.
And so yeah, I think that he's just been a lifelong fan, and who's not really?
I know.
Everybody should be. If you're not, there's something wrong with you. How often do you get the question of, how do you love it that much? How can you go to the parks that often?
So often.
Yeah.
It's just like, if you don't get it, you don't get it.
Is it from? So I grew up in the Northeast. Your family's originally from where?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Okay. So is it the people back home that ask you that?
It's honestly a lot of people that I meet out here.
Really?
Yeah.
I get that sometimes out here, but I feel like out here they're a little bit more understanding. I definitely always get like the whole, how do you you go, first of all, I don't go every week. I go like twice a month. How often do you go?
I like on average, it probably averages out to once a week.
Okay.
But I live a lot closer than
You live
do,
very close.
so.
It's true. If I lived as close to Disneyland as I do to Universal, I'd have a big problem. Like that would be a major, major problem. But yeah. Anyway, anything else you want to add about this episode before?
I did have a question for you about it, just because I was reading a little bit more about the episodes, and I read that in order to save like some time and money, that some shots were in Disneyland. And I read that and went back and looked at all the shots in the park, and honestly couldn't discern if anything was shot in Disneyland. So I didn't know if you picked up on any of that.
If I did not think of that, and if I had to guess though, my guess would be the Toontown stuff. So there was the stuff where when Uncle Jesse went to meet back up with Becky and she had the twins with her, and they were like playing in front of some sort of like cartoonish house. I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of Afternoon Avenue probably at the time.
Oh yeah,
at
I never got to see Afternoon Avenue in person.
I only saw it on TV as well. I remember the Olsen Twins. So as a kid, my whole like seeing the Disney parks on TV was mostly the Walt Disney World Happy Easter Parade. Like I lived for that every Easter, and I remember a segment that I have burned to DVD these days because yes, I keep all that crap. A segment where the Olsen Twins went to Afternoon Avenue at Disneyland, which was a temporary version of Toontown, which is where Toontown is now. I wouldn't be surprised if that was shot there. I wouldn't be surprised if the Tea Party was shot there.
It looked like it was on almost like a sound stage,
maybe.
Yeah, so
I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a private room somewhere at Disneyland. As far as the in-park stuff, I mean, The carousel, I'm pretty sure, was Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
The Dumbo looked like trash. Oh my goodness. There was an aerial shot of Dumbo. I was like, oh God, they've improved that so much since then.
All the Fantasyland stuff was definitely Walt Disney World.
I mean, could Splash have been Disneyland?
I don't think so, because you see them on the ride, and Walt Disney World's Splash is 2x2 and ours is single.
That's right.
So
You're right.
it's a super quick, like, that's
Very
here.
good. Beyond proud of you for even thinking of that. I'm impressed.
Thank
I am
you.
impressed, Miss Tiffany. But yeah, no, that's an interesting point I hadn't thought of. But it definitely wasn't the castle that was shot at Disneyland.
No.
But yeah, my guess would be the Afternoon Avenue Toontown area.
Okay.
I don't know what name it would have been under at that point of them shooting, but that wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah. Anyway, anything else?
I don't think so.
No, this was a lot of fun. I love this new segment. I'm
Such a great idea.
Yeah,
I gotta say, like,
thank you.
Such a great idea.
I'm excited to. There's about 10 of them or so, and I don't think I've missed any. I don't know. I've got my whole list. We'll see what's next. I'm excited because a certain sitcom is getting rebooted very soon, which just so happened to go to Walt Disney World. So the timing is very nice for. Do you know?
No.
Roseanne.
They're doing a Walt Disney World episode?
No, they've done it.
They've done one.
They've done either one or two.
Oh.
They did it. I recently went back and watched all of Roseanne, like within the last couple of years, and not knowing about this reboot. And now I'm so excited for the reboot. I can't even tell you.
Oh my gosh.
It comes out in March.
That was a show I don't think I didn't really get into, but I haven't watched it like in my adult life, and I think I would appreciate it in such a different way.
Go back and watch it because episode 3 of the series plants a seed for the final episode.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if it was intentional or not, or if somebody just remembered something, but it's an impressive little thing. Anyways, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for this, which means it's trivia time! Okay, Tiffany, do you want to hit me with a trivia question first, or shall I hit you?
I will hit you.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you already know the answer to this, but I always am curious to see who knows or who can make like the best educated guess.
Okay.
Based on acreage, do you know or can you list all of the Walt Disney World parks from largest to smallest?
So the largest is Disney's Animal Kingdom. Mm-hmm. Smallest is Disney's Hollywood Studios. Right? Oh, no, and smallest is Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
I feel like I did this recently with somebody. Third largest is Epcot. I'm doing this in a weird order.
I know, like
so we go Magic Kingdom, Disney's Hollywood Studios, Epcot, Disney's Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. The Magic Kingdom one is surprising.
It's super surprising.
Yeah.
Even Animal Kingdom, I feel like everyone is like, oh, it's such a small park, but you have to consider the animal enclosures and stuff. But
yeah, they have that. I believe the Magic Kingdom could fit in the safari space alone. I believe.
Probably. Just if anybody's listening and curious on the acreage, because the discrepancies are honestly pretty big. Animal Kingdom is 580 acres. Epcot is 300 acres. Hollywood Studios is 135 acres, which I'm assuming is going to be bigger based off the new expansions. And Magic Kingdom is only 107.
Now, I am curious when they take those numbers, how much is backstage space that they're talking about? Because the Disney's Hollywood Studios, I would immediately assume is the smallest. The only thing that makes me think maybe they count backstage spaces, like they have sound stages and stuff that we, used to be production for the Mickey Mouse Club back in the day, that we don't really see in the park. Disney's Hollywood Studios definitely feels the smallest.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
but there's been so much construction in the past, I don't know how many years, that it's just like, here's a wall.
Can I tell you still my favorite? I love Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Still?
Even in the mess.
Oh, man.
I have...
Oh, man.
I love that reaction. What would yours be?
Out of those 4?
Yeah.
It's truly a coin flip between Magic Kingdom and Epcot.
I do love Epcot. Epcot is such a special park that, with age, you fall so madly in love with. It's ridiculous.
But it goes back to, how do I want to end and begin my Walt Disney World vacation? And it's always Magic Kingdom.
Okay.
I can't imagine not seeing fireworks on my last day on my vacation.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm a sucker for castles, though. I mean, it's
cool. I like it.
That's just who I am.
I'm a sucker for Hollywood, so Disney's Hollywood Studios it is. I got a trivia question for you. As we were mentioning during that episode, Jesse and Joey went scuba diving inside the living seas, now the seas with Nemo and friends. If you wanted to go scuba diving at the seas with Nemo's and friends, how much is that going to cost you these days?
Ooh.
They have an excursion called Dive Quest, which is a scuba dive excursion. What do you think you'd be paying for that? I'll give you a hint. It's less than $100,000 Will You Marry Me fireworks.
Let's see. I would say like $250.
Less than that.
Less?
Yeah.
Like $200?
$179.
Really?
Yeah.
That seems very affordable.
Yeah, and if you want to do an aqua tour, which is more like snorkeling, where you don't have the tank on your back, it's $145. So I mean, it's like and I don't know how these are probably a couple hours long. I'm not 100% sure on that, but. You do have to be like licensed to do the scuba one. You have to know how to scuba dive. The snorkeling one, I believe anybody can do. I've always, every time I go to Epcot and see the people in there scuba diving, I'm always like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I want to so badly. It scares me, but I can get over that. It's just the cost of like, scuba diving is a costly little hobby.
Yeah, it's
So-
not anyone can just decide they want to do scuba diving.
Yeah, but if I were going to do it, like, I feel like Epcot would be a really good place to start.
Yeah.
They should have a whole week-long course where they train you.
Like, who would do it? Only people that live in Orlando. Like, I gotta take this vacation because I'm
Yeah.
learning how to scuba
Yeah.
dive in Epcot.
I would love that. It'd be so great. And then you can catch your own dinner that night if you want to catch a fish. Yeah, it'd be great. It's this whole thing. I just created a new tour for Walt Disney World. You're welcome, Imagineers. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining for this episode. I do want to remind all of you, something new for Disney Coast to Coast this season is I'm creating a music playlist every month. The way to get that is to sign up for our e-note. This month is Disney songs about passion and love, since it's Valentine's Day month. And I stuck some songs in there that are a little shocking, I will say. My goal with these is to not just make it, I've got some of the familiar, obvious ones, but I got some of the ones that are going to be like, what? He did what? But if you think about it, it's a song about passion, really. So check that out. You can subscribe for the e-note and get the link there. Also, over on Patreon, you can get a bunch of bonuses for Disney Coast to Coast. So go check that out over at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. House of Mouse headlines with all the latest Disney news will be out in a few days. So make sure you tune back in for that. But other than that, let the folks know where they can find you once again.
Sure, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Tiff Mink. You can follow me on YouTube, Tiffany Mink. I'm on Twitter with Minkus, and you can always follow Who's It's and What's It's.
Absolutely. Do all of that stuff, guys. We're over at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. Have a magical week, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for watching Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.